Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Vahed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Verses 9 through 11.
Amen. Al ken lo haya lelevi chelek v'nechala im achav Adonai hu nachalato ka'asher diber Adonai Elohecha lo v'anochi amdati behar Kiyamim harihi shonim arba'im yom v'arba'im laila vayishma Adonai elai gam b'apam hahi lo ava Adonai hashchitecha vayomer Adonai elai kum lech lemaseh lifnei ha'am וירשו את הארץ אשר נשבעתי לאבותם לתת להם.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת חיי עולם נוטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
Pause for the Chatzi Kaddish, also to recognize that it has been mentioned that it's someone's birthday in the near future, which may be a reason why they were called for an aliyah. So I wish you a happy birthday, whichever birthday that may be. 79 years old.
Yeah.
Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach. Skip in the room. Let's go. Yitkadal v'yitkada shemei rabbav Yamad divrach yirtev yamlich malchuteh B'chayechonu yomechon Uv'chayedecho bet Yisrael Ba'agala Uv'izman kariv Yimeru Amen Yehesh me'rava mevorach Le'olam olam me'almayam Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yizromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei l'kudesham Le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Ta'amiran v'alma v'meru
Amen.
Ta'amod, Fredachana bat Abraham ubela maftirach Chizki.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Vahed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
You're repeating verses 9 through 11 on page 1048.
Amen. Al ken lo haya lelevi chelek v'nichala im achav Adonai hu nachalato ka'asher diber Adonai Elohecha lo v'anochi amdati bahar kiyamim harihi shonim arba'im yom v'arba'im laila vayishma Adonai elai גם באפם ההיא לא אהבה אדוני אשחיתך ויאמר אדוני אלי קום לך למסע לפני העם ויבואו וירשו את הארץ אשר נשבעתי לאבותם לתת להם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher Natan lanu Torah temet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu baruch atah Adonai noten Torah.
Amen.
Ya'amod ha'mankiya ta'amod ha'golelet. We rise as the Torah is lifted. Vezot ha'Torah asher zam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai v'yad Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Torah tziva lanu Moshe. You may be seated.
The Haftorah is the second Haftorah of consolation, so we should feel consoled, right before the holidays, and it is found on page 1056. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratzah v'divreihem hanemorim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'b'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. V'tomer Tzion, azavani Adonai, v'Adonai shechechani, v'tishkach isha ha'ulaha, merachem, ben bitnach, gameh letishkachna, v'anochi lo eshkachech, chen ahal kapayim, hakotich, homotahich, negdi tamid miharu, banahich, meharsahich, umacharivayich, mimech yetzeu, so ihi, sachihi, enayich, urihi, kulaham, nikbetsu va'ulach, chayani numaronoi, kihi hulaham, kadihi tilkashi, v'takashrihim kakalaha, kihi haravotahich, v'shohomomotahich, v'heretz harisutehich, Ki atah tetzrihi meyoshev v'rachakuhu meval ayich. Ohod yomruhu bazmayich b'nei shichulayich. Tsar lihi hamakom kashali ve'eshecha v'amahart bilvavech. Mihi yalad lihi et ele, v'anihi shechula, v'gamudraha, gulaha v'sugraha, ve'ele mihi gidahel, chenanihi, nishaharti levadihi ele, efochem. Koamahar, Adonai Elohim, Hinei Esaha, El Goyim Yadihi, V'elamihim, Arim Nisihi, V'hevihu Vanayich Bechotzen, Uvnotahayich, Akatev, Tinasena, V'hayu Malachim, Omnahayich, V'sartehem, Meinihi Kotayich, Apahim, Eretz Yishtachavu Lach, V'afaraglaich, Yelachehu, V'yada'at ki ani Adonai, Asher lo yevshu, Kovahai, Hayukach Migikor, Malakohoach, V'im Shavihi Tzadik, Yimaleit, Ki Ho, Amar Adonai, Gam Shavihi Gavoh Yukach, Umakoach Haritz, Yimaleit, V'et Yiriveh Anochi Ariv, V'et Banahayich Anochi Yoshia, V'ha'achalti et Monayich et Besaraham, V'chasihis Damayish Kavrun, V'yadu Kol Basar, Ki ani Adonai Moshiach, V'go alecha Vir Yaakov, Kaho Amar Adonai, Ehezeh, Sefer Karitu Dimchem, Asher Shalachtiha, Oh migon Shai, Asher Mecharti, Etchem lo, Chen bazonotechem, Nimkartechem, Ufishechem, Shulcha imechem, Madua bahati, Ve'eni hish, Karahati v'eno neh, Hakatzor, Katzrahayadi mipdut, V'mein bi, Choach lechatzihil, Chen begarti, Achariv yaham, Asim naharot midbahar, Tichash degatam, Mein mahim v'tamohot, V'tzamaha, Abihi shamayim, Karan ruhut, V'sahak, Hashim kesutaham, Adonai Elohim, Natan lihi, Lishon limdudim, Ledahat, La'uhu tetyaif davahar, Ya'ir, baboker, Ya'ir lihi ozen, Lishmoa, Kalimudim, Adonai Elohim, Patach li ozen, Vanochi lomariti, Ahor lo nesugoti, Gevihi natahati lamakim, Uchayai lemortihim, Panahai lo chistarti, Miklamohod varog, Vadonai Elohim yazar lihi, Alkein lo nichlahamti alkein, Samti fanahai kalamish, Vedaha ki lo evosh, Karov matstikihi, Miariviti nahamda, Yachar miva'al mishpati yigash elai. Chen Adonai Elohim yazar li mihu yarshieni hein kulam kabeheged yiluhu ahash yochlehem mihivachem yareh Adonai shomeya mekol avado asher chalach hashechim v'ein nogach lo yiftach b'shem Adonai v'yishein melochav chen kolchem korchesh mazrei zikot lachu ba'oreshchem uzichot biartem miadihi hayatuzot lachem la'maitzeva tishkavun shimuhu elahai rodfei tzedek mevakshei Adonai habituhu el tzur chutzavtem v'yama kevet bor nukartem habitu el Avraham avichem v'yehel Sarah techolelchem ki achad karativ v'yavrachehu v'yarbehu ki nicham Adonai Tzion nicham kol harvoteha v'yasem midbarach ka'eden v'arvataha kagan Adonai sasahun v'simcha yam yimaha tzevaha Torah v'chol zimraha Baruch Adonai atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzor kol amihim tzadik b'chol hadarot ha'el ha'ne'eman hamorei v'yaseh hamdaber im kayehim shechol devarav emev hatzedek Ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'ne'emanim tevarecha v'davar echad mibarecha achor lo yashuv rekam ki el melech ne'eman v'rachaman atah baruch atah Adonai ha'el ha'ne'eman b'chol devarav rachem al Tzion ki beit chayenu v'lalu ad nefesh toshia b'mhera v'yameinu baruch atah Adonai Mesamech Tzion bevaneha Samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu B'Eliyahu hanavi avdecha U'malchut Beit David Meshichecha B'mhera yavoho v'yagel libeinu Al kiso lo yeshev zar v'lo yinchalu Od achirim et kavodoho Ki b'shem kadshecha nishbat hala Shelo yichbeinei ro le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Magen David Al haTorah v'al ha'avodah v'al ha'mi'im v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnucha lechavod u'tiferet Al ha'kol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach u'mvarchim otach yiparach shimcha b'fi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha'shabbat One of the things, do you want to do this, Devar, right now? Okay. So one of the things that we have been actually kind of lucky about this year is that we have the opportunity to hear from some of the members of our congregation. I know there are a lot of people that have a lot of wonderful things to share with us, and it's nice to get to share their wisdom. If you would like to share something with us, we are looking for people to give us a Devar Torah. It does not have to be something that's directly related to the Torah portion, but just something that you would like to share with the congregation on Shabbat. Please let me know, or please let the office know, and they'll let me know, and we will get you scheduled on a week where we do not have Rabbi Nori here with us. So the first volunteer, even though he's giving the second Devar Torah, is Julian Brook, and he has shared his wisdom with us so often over the years, and we're so lucky to have him. So without further ado, Julian, please.
Boker Tov, Shabbat Shalom. Oh, it is really great to be with people, isn't it? If I may digress for a moment, we have a lot of traditions about a lot of things. There's a lot for how you go up to the Torah for an Aliyah. One of them, closer to me. Okay. One of the traditions for going up for an Aliyah is to go up on the right and come down on the left. I don't know why. Another one is, when you come down, go by the rabbi so you can shake his hand. The one I like, and the most logical, as Mr. Spock would say, is to go up the shortest way because you're eager to get up to the Torah, and to go down the longest way because you're reluctant to leave, which is why I sit over there, because I can do all of them at the same time and don't have to worry about choosing. Back to work. A couple of weeks ago after services, I was discussing Devar Torahs with somebody. In the broadest sense, as Naomi just pointed out, Devar Torah can be a lot of different things. Comments, the particular parsha, some other parsha, thoughts, discussion, reflection. Almost anything can relate to Torah in the broadest sense. And there are plenty of resources available to us if you want to dig into a parsha. JTS on the East Coast, UJ on the West Coast, our conservative yeshiva in Jerusalem, our Fuchsberg Center in Jerusalem, Project Genesis, Rabbi Yitz Greenberg, number of other distinguished rabbis and educators and wise people. And that's just a few off the top of my head. Many of them will put you on their regular weekly email list if you want to dig into the parsha. So just do it and study and have a great time. Last week, Rabbi Nori mentioned a bridge we walk between past and future. As some of you like to know, I like to point out that we as conservative Jews have walked a tightrope between tradition and modernity ever since Jacob wrestled with the angel, which was a long time ago. I believe that struggle is one of the factors that's enabled us to survive for so very long, which is something Mark Twain wondered about over 100 years ago. So with your forbearance, I'm not going to do the parsha. I want to share a story with you. It's one of my favorites. It was written by a fellow named John Morrissey in 1982. It's not related to the current parsha, but it is certainly parsha related. Relates to one only a few weeks off, as a matter of fact. Let's see if you can identify which one. That'll be the test, okay? His days were full of work, but the life here was good. Each day brought new discoveries. On his long, strong legs, he ranged far over this unfamiliar world, feeding a curiosity that grew with each day's nourishment. The woman, too, devoted her time to exploring, and between them, they had already learned much about their new home. After his long day of questing, he returned hungry and dusty, but in good spirits. She had come back before him. At the sight of him, she brought out food. As they ate, he told her of his day's findings. "Did you see any new animals?" she asked. Some flying creatures, he said. They're beautiful things. Take me with you tomorrow. I want to see them too. You can name them. You're better at that than I am. When they finished eating, he asked, did you find anything new by the river? She smiled and shook her head, and the long waves of her hair moved gently to brush one side of her face and then the other. She swept her hair back and said, I didn't go to the river. I went up the mountain. To the top? To the very top. He had been reclining on an elbow. At her news, he sat up and reached out to her in a quick gesture, not of anger, but of concern. You know the law. At the top of the mountain, you should never go there. Not alone, certainly. She rose lightly to her feet and tugged at his hand. Come up with me then and see what I have to show you. The mountaintop is not a good place, not even when we're together. There is no danger. I know there isn't. He still did not move. The light, he said uncertainly. The light will be with us for a long time. Come. She tugged again, and he reluctantly rose and followed her up the gentle slope. They reached the clearing on the mountaintop in a short time. He stopped, but she walked on, into the center of the clearing, where the bright bush stood alone, and picked two of the thumb-sized golden fruits. He cried out and rushed forward as she placed one in her mouth and bit down. But he was too late to stop her. Why did you do this? Remember the warning. If we eat this fruit, we die. I've eaten it before, and I'm not dead. Try it, she said, extending the golden fruit to him. No, I can't. We were told, eat this fruit and you die. I've eaten it and yet I live. Try it, please. And if we die together? At least we die together. Would you rather live on here without me? That was a thought he could not bear. Without a word, he took the fruit from her fingers and placed it in his mouth. It burst at the pressure of his tongue, and rich, sweet juice flooded his mouth with a savor unlike anything he had tasted before. He gave a little involuntary moan of delight at the sensation, and without thinking, reached out to pluck one, then two, then a handful more of the golden fruit. And the woman beside him laughed and did the same. He turned to her, and another new sensation swept through him at the sight of her. He was not sure how long they had been together. The glow of her smooth skin, the soft curves of her shoulders. He placed his hands on her shoulders and pulled her to him. You are the most beautiful of all things. I never saw this before, but I see it now. They found a shared joy they had not dreamed of before, and they blessed the golden fruit that had awakened their senses. Together in the early twilight, they walked down the mountainside to their shelter. Her arm was around his waist, while he encircled her shoulder with his arm and drew her head against him. They walked in silence, slowly. At the foot of the mountain, they stopped. A light flickered and flared bright under the darkening sky and came to rest before them. He stepped forward in a protective stance as the light dimmed and took the form of one of the guardians of the place. What do you want here, the man said. The guardian's voice was like the rolling of great boulders down the mountainside. The rush of air from its pinions swept the fallen leaves past the man and blew the hair back from his face. You have broken the law, the guardian said. The man was afraid. He wanted to fall back before that awesome figure. But he thought of the woman and the punishment that might befall them, and anger rose in him stronger than the fear. What we have done is not your concern. Get out of the way, he said. Do you defy me, the guardian roared, lowering a hand to the sword at its side. It is you who defy me by intruding on the place that was given to me. Leave us, the man ordered, taking a step forward. The guardian drew its sword. The man stooped, lifted a heavy stone from the ground, and hurled it with all his strength. It struck the guardian full in the chest, staggering it. The sword whirled free, glinting in the dying light. The woman sprang to snatch up the fallen blade. Now leave, she said to the stricken guardian, and never intrude on us again. The guardian hesitated and seemed about to speak, but the man stepped forward, and the woman brandished the sword, and the guardian faded away. The woman came to his side and put her arms around him. You were very brave, she said. Until now, I feared them, but no more. No, no more. He looked down at her. Before I even raised my hand against the creature, I knew it was beaten. Do I make you so strong? You've shown me why I must be strong. He took the sword from her, hand in hand, more watchful now. They descended the remainder of the way. As they reached their shelter, the skies darkened. A wind rose, and its first faint whisper grew in an instant to a roar. Sudden drops of rain struck like flung pellets against them. A peal of thunder shook the ground under their feet, and in a flash of lightning that seared the trees around them, their Creator appeared. His blazing face was drawn in lines of wrath. What have you done? He said in a voice that overbore the thunder. The man stood fast before him, the sword in his hand. I drove out an intruder. You have done more. Accuse me then. Thunder roared all around, and lightning lanced the ground at his very feet, but the man stood firm. At last came the accusation. You have eaten the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. This was forbidden you, and yet you did it. Now you face my punishment. Why should I be punished? Do you deny eating the golden fruit? The voice of the Creator thundered. I deny doing wrong. You gave me this place. You told me I was master here. Why should anything be forbidden to me where I am master? Do you feel no guilt, no shame? I do not, the man said, and took a step forward. I will enjoy the fruits of my own garden as I choose. Send guardians to threaten me, and I will treat them as I have treated the first. Would you attack me then? The man let the sword fall from his hand. No, not you. Never you. I only defend what you gave me for my own. The Creator raised his hand and pointed at the man, who steeled himself for a blast that did not come. Instead, in a solemn voice like retreating thunder, the Creator said, You have broken my law and struck down my servant, and you show no remorse. Will you kneel before me and beg for forgiveness? No, I have done no wrong. I can destroy you. Then destroy me and make a creature that will crawl before you. And a new companion for him, said the woman. She came to the man's side and placed her hand in his. The wind fell and the storm passed, and for a moment all was still. Side by side, the man and the woman awaited their doom. At last, the Creator cried into the silence. At last. He cried again, and the darkness lifted. A joyous light shone forth from his countenance and illumined all around the man and woman and embraced them. Over and over on worlds beyond numbering, I have created you. On every world, I put you to a test. And of all who take the test, none has yet had the courage to accept the consequences. Eat the fruit and you become as I. They could not bear this. When I faced them, they crawled before me and cringed and whimpered for mercy. I demanded guilt and shame, and they gave it to me. And they live in thrall to it forever. But you gave me courage. He stepped closer and held out his arms. They came to him. He enfolded them in light and pressed them to him. On a million worlds I have slaves and worshipers, he said softly. But here, at last, I have my children. That's it. Now we go back to work.
Thank you very much, Julie. Our service will continue on page 176. Yikum porkan min Shemaya. If you would please read with me responsibly, we'll alternate paragraphs on page 177, a prayer for our country. I will start, and then you will continue. Our God and God of our ancestors, with mercy accept our prayer on behalf of our country and its government. Pour out your blessing upon this land, upon its inhabitants, upon its leaders, its judges, officers, and officials who faithfully devote themselves to the needs of the public. Help them understand the rules of justice you have decreed so that peace and security, happiness and freedom will never depart from our land. Compassion, understanding, courage, truth, may it be your will that our land be a blessing to all who dwell on earth, and may you cause all peoples to dwell in friendship and freedom. Speedily fulfill the vision of your prophets. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. For again, all of them, from the least of them to the greatest, shall know me. And let us say, Amen. We'll continue with Ashrei on page 181. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, Odi Hallelujah Selah. Tehillah David, Aramimcha Elohai HaMelech, V'avarcha Shimcha Le'olam Va'ed. Gadol Adonai Hula Me'od, V'ligdulato Ein Cheker. Hadar Kivod Hodecha, V'divrei Neflotecha Asicha. Zecher Rav Tivcha Yabiu, V'tzidkatecha Yiranenu. Tov Adonai L'kol, V'rachamav Al Kol Ma'asav. Kivod Malchutecha Yomeru, Ugvuratecha Yidaberu. Malchutecha Malchut Kol Amim, Umemshaltecha B'chol Dor V'ador. Einei Kol Elecha Yisaberu, V'ata Noten Lahem Et Ochlam B'ito. Tzadik Adonai B'chol Derachav, V'chasid B'chol Ma'asav. Ritzon Yireav Ya'aseh, Ve'et Shavatam Yishma V'yoshiem. Tehillat Adonai Yedaber Pi, V'yivarech Kol Basar Shem Kodsho Le'olam Va'ed. V'anachnu Nivarech Ya, Me'ata Ve'ad Olam. Hallelujah. We continue on page 183. Please rise as we open the ark. You on it? Yeah.
Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim,
vayarem kerem le'amo, divina, v'chol chasidav, livnei Yisrael,
Im hi lama chazikim ba, v'tom cheha me'ushar, deracheha darchei noam, v'chol netivoteha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashua. Kadesh, Kadesh Yameinu, Kadesh Yameinu keketem.
Yikadav v'yikadash shemei rabbah, v'hamadi rak yurtei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchayedecho be'Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvizman kariv, v'imeru, yehi shmei rabbah mevorach, Olam me'omaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitbar, V'yitermam, V'yinaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shemei Kedusha, Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiran bi'alma, V'imeru. We continue with the Musaf Amidah on 185. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zofer Chastei Avot, Umevi Mechakel chayim bechesed, mechayim meitim berachamim. Tomech noflim verofech olim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha bagiburo, umito melech memit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atal hachayot meitim. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh ha-meitim. Naritzecha v'nadishcha, Yisotziach, Sarfei Kodesh, Hamakdishim Shimcha HaKodesh, Kakatu al Yad Nevi'echa, V'karaze Elza ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Melech kol haaretz kivodo. Kivodo malei olam, mishortav sholim zeh lazeh, aye mikom kivodo, le'umatam baruch yomeru. Mimkomohu yifen berachamim, ve'achon amham yechadim shemo, erev v'boker b'chol yom tamid, pa'amayim be'ahava shema omrim. Shema Yisrael. Hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Mosheinu, V'Hu Yashmienu, Baruch Hamav Shenit L'nei Kol Chai, Lihiyo Lachem L'Elohim. Ugdivrei Kodechecha Katuv Lemor, Limor Le'olam Tzion, Ledor Vador, Hallelujah. Ledor Vador Nagid Kodlecha, Ulenetzach Netzachim Kedushacha Nagdish, V'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu le'yamush le'olam va'ed, Ki el melech gadol v'kadosh atah, Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, Amen. Yigdal v'yigdal shemei rabbah, ve'almadi rakirte ve'amlich malchute b'chaychonu v'yomechon u'b'chayedecho be'Yisrael b'galav v'zman kari v'yimeru. Yehi shmei rabbah mevorach le'al amulal me'al maya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yidramam v'yinaseh v'yidadar v'yidaleh v'yitalal shemei kedusha le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'yimeru. Tikabal tzolot tehonu v'otehon decho Yisrael kadama v'handi v'shmaya v'yimeru. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. Page 204. Ein keloheinu, ein kadonenu, ein kemalkeinu, ein kemoshienu. Micheloheinu, michadonenu, michemalkeinu, michemoshienu. Nodel Eloheinu, nodel Adonenu, nodel Malkeinu, nodel Moshienu. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Atahu Shektiru Avotenu Lefanecha Eketoret Hasamim. We continue on page 205. Please rise for the Aleinu. Aleinu L'Shabbat Adonai Kol Latefilah Tzevreshi Shelo Asan et Yigoyer Haratzot Velo Samanu K'mishpechot Ha'adama Shelo Samcha K'nikahem V'dor Aleinu K'cholonam V'anachnu korim U'mishtachavim Modim Lifnei Melech Malchei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tekenu Lama Malchut Shaddai Levanot Elakadosh Eretz. Tekatu b'Toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar V'haya Adonai melech al kol ha'aretz V'yom ha'hu yeh Adonai U'shemo echad.
So this week we remember the following yahrzeits: Louis Alterman, Morris Belitsky, Sophie Bloomberg, Hannah Boujor, Myron Pete Cohen, David I. Cohen, Sarah M. Davis, Zlata Draluk, Doris Fingerman, Rose Ginsburg, Gertrude Goldberg, Rose Hyatt Goldstein, Nancy Goldstein, Ruth Gordon, William Gauss, Isidore Halpern, Frank M. Happ, Ellen Jo Krell, Gladys Levis, Herbert Levy, Alvin Lipsitz, Leon May, Henry Morowitz, Yale H. Niren, Alan Nozick, Beatrice Nozick, Roy Gay Reagan, David Schwartz, Joseph Silberman, Claire Simon, Geneva Stein, Mildred Stein, Annabelle Uden-Wilk, Sophie Zeidman, Kaika Zeltzer, and Rose Zucker. All who are saying Yartzeit or all who are saying Kaddish would please rise. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma Divrachi Rute V'yamlich Malchute B'chayechon Uvyamechon Uvchaye D'chol Beit Yisrael Ba'galal V'izman Kari V'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mivarach Le'olam Le'omel Maya. Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitalev V'yitalal Shemei D'Kudashah Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tush B'chata V'nechamata Damiran B'yalma V'imru Yehi Shlama Rabbah Min Shemaya L'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Oseh Shalom B'imrumav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru. So now we have announcements. Yay. Welcome and Shabbat Shalom to everybody. I'd like to thank everyone who led just a beautiful service today, mostly Sarah, so thank you, Sarah. And our Torah readers, we had Asher and Jessica and Barry, so thank you. And Joshua, who jumped in to do a little bit of the Torah service, so thank you too. So just a shout out to everyone who's up here doing anything. It is kind of hard to do these things in masks, and it's really hot up here, so, give people a little more credit because it's difficult. So Kiddush lunch this week, we are not able, unfortunately, to join and have Kiddush lunch in the Cultural Center, but we are having to-go boxes, which were lovingly created, and we want to thank Bernard Axel for helping, and Robin for helping put these things together. So they will be in the hallway, and I'm talking really, really slowly so that they will be in the hallway when you leave. And please take a box, maybe even two. I think there are a lot of them, and enjoy. Hopefully, in the future, we're going to try and see if there's some way we can have some seats in the outdoors, maybe down under the breezeway, so that people can have an opportunity to at least gather together. You can certainly gather down there together if you want to pretend you're at a cocktail party and hold your food and do that. I've never gathered that skill, but some people have it. But we would just prefer that people do not gather indoors to eat at this point. The Kiddush lunch, which is here, is not in the Filler Cultural Center, is supported by the Etta Kane Kiddush Luncheon Fund, the Sightland Family Kiddush Luncheon Fund, the Lothman Family Kiddush Luncheon Fund, and the Sanders Levy Fund in the Temple Bethel Foundation. After a year like no other, we want to hold space to reflect together. Whether you consider yourself a writer or not a writer, or have a good story, like we heard today, we'd love to read your thoughts. We're getting together and we're gathering those reflections into a booklet, and we're going to read some of them as part of the High Holiday service. So here are some prompts to get your creative juices flowing. Consider these questions: what truly matters to you now? What is in need of repair within, between us? What about in the world? Where do you think you've fallen short this year? And where have you excelled? And what does it mean to be written in the book of life during a global pandemic or not? So please, thank you for sharing your thoughts, if you will, and helping make this high holiday season more meaningful. There's a 300-word limit, and please submit to SharonSwain@gmail.com by August 6th, and that email address is in your Shabbat pamphlet, or you can contact the office. Rabbi Nori is available by email. Again, his email is in the pamphlet, And well, you can always call him as needed. He has dedicated virtual office hours on Tuesday and Thursday from 9 to noon. So you can make an appointment with the office or give him a call, and his number again is in your Shabbat pamphlet. There is going to be an Enter Everything family-friendly hike at Red Mountain Park on Sunday, August 22nd from 9 to 11. And that's gathering in community with other families and individuals who identify as interfaith, intercultural, interdenominational, anything. The program's open to the community. Bring a bagged lunch, and Temple will be providing snacks and goodies. And RSVP to M. Norman at Temple Bethel, so to Margaret. And the Social Action Committee is partnering with the Society of St. Andrew on another project. The okra season has started, and the Society of St. Andrew has a farmer in Chilton County that has invited us to come and glean his field of okra on Mondays during the month of August. They'll be there every Monday through the next several weeks. Sign up on the Society of St. Andrew website and email Dahlia Abrams to let them know that you're coming. Does anybody have anything else they would like to share with the congregation? Okay, so now we can just have a very slow Adon Olam. I hope the boxes will be out there. If they are not out there, please just hold up a minute, and they will be there shortly. We'll still have Kiddush, and so hopefully we can get them done. So Shabbat Shalom.
We conclude with Adon Olam on page 211. Adon Olam Oshem. Oh, can I go at a normal speed? Remko Yetzir Nivra Le'et Nasa Bechef Sokol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Velo ha'oz ve'ha'misra ve'hu eli ve'chai goli ve'tzur chavli ve'etzara ve'hu nisi umanosli not kosi be'yom ekra menat kosi be'yom ekra Beyado afkid ruchi, be'etishan ve'aira, ve'im ruchi geviati, Adonai li, velo ira, Adonai li, velo ira. Kiddush time. We continue with Kiddush on page 77. B'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam Veshamru B'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Oti leolam Veshamru B'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Shabbat Shalom.